Hello. It's funny, isn't it, that we often find it difficult to be creative, to find new ideas, and yet the distinguishing feature of the human race that distinguishes us from all the other species is creativity, being ingenious, being inventive. That capacity of the human race has meant that we survive and now thrive. We've come to dominate the planet through our use of creative thinking. Through our creativity, we have increased our weak eyesight, our hearing is weak, and we've managed to augment that. And also, we've been able to move quicker than any of the other animals than our initial fat, hairy legs have allowed us to in the past. So nowadays, we've put ourselves in a position to transcend evolution and even to create an intelligence that is greater than any one individual, a distributed intelligence that self-corrects and that will eventually make the human race redundant. So it's a paradox that here we have this marvelous power that we've accumulated through the ages, and yet we, as individuals, often find it difficult to reach out for ideas. Well, I hope in this speech to be able to maybe create a pathway between our collective ability and our individual talent to see if we can increase our own personal power through a trick of the mind which may be holding us back. And I hope to show that by messing with your brains a little, we could perhaps increase our own creative powers. One of the great and perhaps the best invention of the human race is language. We've codified the universe with sound, and this allows us to do everything. Without language, we'd be nothing at all. It's our best invention. And the second best invention probably is turning that sound into vision in the form of books and documents and a permanent record. It's a long way of saying that I once discovered a book in my early 20s which made a big impact on me, and it was called Applied Imagination by Alex Osborne. Now, Alex Osborne was an American advertising executive, and what Osborne did was invent something called brainstorming. Now, this was summed up by Linus Pauling, who said the way to get good ideas is to get a lot of ideas and throw away the bad ones. And what Osborne said was, to generate ideas, you've got to stifle your critical faculty, because we often get ideas and then we strangle them at birth because we're too critical early on. So he said the best thing to do is just get idea after idea after idea without any censorship, and then look at them, cross-fertilize them, combine them, adapt them, and that way you can increase your creative powers. Now, I found this very empowering at the time, and since then I've come across a lot of other methods of tricking our subconscious into coughing up better ideas, looking at that black box and finding little ways of teasing it out and getting it to come up with better plans and better alternatives and better possibilities than would seem to be available just by waiting around for some kind of light bulb moment to strike or some inspiration in the hope. He said there's a process by which we can generate lots of ideas. But I think this is a false way of looking at creativity, because then what seems to happen is you see there's two realms. There's the real world, which we can see and touch and sense. And then there's the world of ideas, of make-believe. But in fact, there's only one world, and that is the world of ideas. Because anything that we have in reality was once an idea. This house was once something on someone's drawing board. The garden outside, the fencing, everything was an idea. And you can see it from all around the world. There's a creativity that's imagined. Benedict Anderson, an American journalist and thinker, said a nation is an imagined community. And everything in the world is invented. The monarchy, the constitution, the Houses of Parliament, you name it, it's invented. Now, even if you look at some other inventions that you might not think are such. If we looked at the film called Bugsy, which is about the life of Bugsy Siegel, who was a gangster, a mobster, and according to this film, he was out in his car one day visiting Las Vegas and going through the Nevada desert. And he looked at Las Vegas, but he didn't see a hick town in the middle of a very unpromising desert. He saw a place where people could come and gamble, and he could open a hotel and a casino, and people would flock there and try and get rich quick. And so we have the modern day Las Vegas from his vision. And I'm sorry if this offends anybody, but you take a very unpromising place like Florida, which is swampland with lots of crocodiles and a very changeable, humid climate. And you put there Disney World, a fictitious place that people flock there from all over the world, the Epcot Center and the Universal Studios, all fictitious places, and yet somehow a big magnet for people to come and enjoy themselves. So it was people with vision who could see the possibilities of somewhere that looked quite unpromising. So what I'm saying now is that Shakespeare had it right when he had his character Prospero say, "We are the stuff that dreams are made of." Now let's take the case of Bugsy Siegel again. Bugsy Siegel, according to the coroner's report, died from a brain hemorrhage. This was not unassociated with the bullet that went from one side of his skull to the other, that somehow caused the hemorrhage while he was sitting in his living room one Sunday morning reading the newspaper. Nobody knows who shot Bugsy Siegel, but he was a gangster. So it would have been one of his rivals. So what I'm saying here is that we might have vision, we might have creative power, and the society we're living in is based on continual innovation. As Karl Marx said in his Communist Manifesto, everything that is solid disappears into thin air. So people who innovate usually are doing it for a competitive advantage, to get one up on other people. So it's not what you might call a very cooperative situation. It's one where the creatives are people who walk away with the money. So you've got very creative people like Jeff Bezos, Bill Gates, Mark Zuckerberg. They're all people who have innovated and succeeded. Henry Ford said there are two types of innovation. There's one of gradual improvement, which doesn't really threaten anybody, and there's one of complete original innovation. So he said you could have had the horse-drawn carriage and a gradual improvement on the horse-drawn carriage, but he preferred to invent something that was self-propelled, called it the motor car, and that's what we've been living with ever since. So that, of course, disrupted whole industries, whole societies, and according to Marx, everything that was solid disappeared into thin air. So we are living in a world of imagination. A thought is as powerful as a bomb, said somebody recently. And that's true. That's why dictatorships hate people with ideas. But we've got to pause and think. This is a gift. And what the world now is looking for is visionaries, people who can see possibilities, people who can see what's not there. But it has to be done in a cooperative, and it has to be done in a way that advances the welfare of the human race, not just individuals who succeed at the expense of everybody else, no matter how good their inventions are. We have to have visionaries who can invent and create something that is positive and doesn't require that we deplete the world's resources in order for that vision to succeed. Because at the moment we're ransacking the universe and we're running out of resources because we become greedy and morally myopic. So we need visionaries who can see the big picture, can see how everybody is going to benefit, and not just one individual or one tight group that succeeds when everybody else fails. So our creative power can, if you like, improve and invent weapons of mass destruction, or our creative power could invent and create institutions of of communal welfare. It's a two-edged sword, and often we think, creativity, how wonderful. But it is, as usual, something that has double meaning, and we have to come to grips with that. When the philosopher, whose name escapes me at the moment, because he's a Danish philosopher, said that if he was given a choice, he wouldn't go for wealth or power. He'd go, what he'd wish for was something else. He'd wish for a passionate sense of the possibilities for the eye, ardent and youthful, he said, that sees possibilities. That's what we're called upon to do, to see possibilities. And we're living in a world of dreams and ideas, and the real world is just a pale reflection of what could be. Thank you.
Thank you.